a warrior that was tasked with the duty of saving mankind. On this day passed away, he wasn't just any normal warrior, he possessed the greatest strength and he was the hero that received the power to destroy the demon god, yet he passed away. The demon god's spear pierced his chestplate, leading to a fatal injury. They've used up their resurrection spells, so they don't have any way to revive him. Mikhail believes it's a blunder in his part to have made that guy the leader. A muscular man asked Mikhail if he has anything prepared. Mikhail states he has various spell prepared, but assumption as a hero was still alive. What now? They're meaningless. To begin with, the warrior and him were both chosen as hero candidates. However, he gave it up because he believed he was unworthy. Now that they've come this far, he has no choice but to accept that it was his mistake. The Demon King lets out a menacing howl. Mikhail attempts to form a powerful magic circle. The others try to buy him some time. The muscular guy attacks with a powerful strike. And the archer releases a barrage of attacks. Moments later, the body of monsters stained the land. The archer is fatigued and wounded. The same goes for the muscular guy. The demons seem endless. Suddenly a giant demon appears and strikes the muscular guy with a powerful blow. The archer then jumps facing the demon head on. He exclaims that he leaves the rest to Mikhail before being defeated in one blow. At the moment, the white-haired girl walks forward facing the demons. She kneels and prays and a giant fireball engulfed the area. Thanks to everyone buying him time, he was able to complete magic of the ninth circle. He activates his magic skill Meteor Strike. In an instant the demons were vanquished, at least so it seemed. In reality, it was totally impossible with him not being a hero. However, it would be a shame to meet his comrades again if he was vanquished without even putting up a fight. Even though he's an archmage of the ninth circle, he doesn't possess power to rewrite the common sense of the world. However, 10th circle magic is different. Even if something considered impossible, it could become possible. He breaks the circles and unleashes all the power inside him. Suddenly, uncontrolled mana begins to run rampant within his body. Even so, he bears the pain. That is how he plans to reach the power that seems non-existent. Rewind. All the time that passed, the countless failures they have committed, unfortunately he wasn't able to finish it. It was a magic he cast, at the cost of everyone, but even that wasn't enough. He wasn't able to complete the technique, but even so, if a miracle were to occur at magic were to succeed even practically, he won't make the same mistake again. He would never allow an unqualified man to become the warrior. He would never entrust their lives to someone unqualified. He then met his end to the hands of the demon. Moments later, he slowly opened his eyes to someone calling him young master. A butler named Morden kneels by his bedside asking how he feels. He asked Morden what year it is. Morden is shocked and inquires if he's in any pain or if he had hit his head. Mikhail states that he's fine and asked the current year. Morden states that it's the 4th month as a 32nd year. He has gone 20 years back into the past. Regression mark magic. The success rate is 1%. An incredible rare magic with almost nothing known about it. It's even been labeled an impossible technique, but he had done it. He checked to see his poor level and he says that he's only a 3rd circle and it's not even complete. That's far too low for the successor of Walpurgis Marquis family. A family famous for its magic. He then noticed that his head is bandaged. He was beaten by Eileen Lindle, the woman he was engaged to until he was 20. He looks into the mirror and asks how the Lindle family had responded. Morden states that they haven't had any particular response. Obviously, they're not in a very good position themselves. He pushes the butler outside, but the butler reminds him that in any scenario he cannot meet with Eileen. Mikhail slams the door in his face. He wonders how low was his reputation. He takes a moment to contemplate and remember when the heroes stopped him, saying that he cannot allow him to take any more lives. That fool of a warrior made a mess of everything because of his self-righteousness despite the enormity of responsibilities he had. Siegfried woke up asleep in Wyvern, which they had to retreat from. His explanation that they shouldn't run from anything. He even refused to take advantage of an enemy weakness because he saw it as cowardly. Many territories fell because of that mercy. The butler informs Mikhail's father that he has woken up. His father declares that if he tries to look for the princess again he'll beat him silly. Morden tells him that he is at a loss. If Mikhail had done that, he would have already reported it to him, but that's not the case. Morden had noticed that he seemed full of rage. Since he's been given this opportunity, Mikhail plans to prepare from now on. However, first he'll need to stabilize a circle that's going in the wrong direction. Mana usually circulates in a certain direction. Direction is an important element that affects the nature of the mana. The current direction that's known in this time is clockwise. Mana flows in the direction it's been assigned and circulate the body gathers in one's heart, forming a circle. That's the usual theory, but he interpreted differently. The direction doesn't need to be in one place. Free circulation method, a crazy training method where he created circulation points all over his body and allowed 12 mana circulations to take place at the same time. Normally it wouldn't be strange even if his whole body explodes because of overloading circulations. But he's not just a normal person, he's a ninth circle mage and his pain is nothing compared to what will happen in the future. Afterwards his circle stabilize and is able to use mana in the most efficient way. He was able to create another circle with remaining mana from the circulation process. He became a 4-circle. Since it's going so well, it decides to go straight to the next level. He summons Ice Spear and Fire Lance, which is a utilization of multicasting. A mage is given a nickname at 7th circle. This is the only given at the 7th circle. Multicasting is an advanced magic that can be used when one reaches a certain level. It shouldn't be possible for him, who's a 4th circle. But because he's managed to activate the complicated free circulation method, he's now able to circle the mana more efficiently. When he was at the 9th circle he could use several magic at the same time. However, it should be good enough for the time being. Suddenly his father burst into his room screaming his name. His father asked if he knows what he's done. In a nonchalant voice he states that he's aware, which catches his father off guard. Mikhail states that he's ruined their family's reputation. And he doesn't have to tell him that. With a menacing face his father threatens him. With a frightened expression Mikhail exclaims that he has a plan. He doesn't believe it's right for the dukedom to request for an engagement annulment one-sidedly. His father admits that way they reacted it was indeed a little self-righteous. His father takes a seat and with a satisfactory grin tells him to keep talking. In the past Mikhail had changed completely when he was around 23 years old. This happened with Lindle, when he was incredibly pathetic before he was 23 years old. Basically the current him is pretty pathetic in various ways. He is indecisive, the most unmanly man and doesn't even have his own beliefs. He was close to the type of human that Island detest. Which is why, it wasn't as strange that she hated the engagement they had. But she had used deception. The conditions for the engagement was to not learn any kind of mana training because in order to create a pure successor mana of different natures mustn't be put into the mix. The successor is very important to the family, especially more so if they are knight or mage that is really influenced by their bloodline. Mikhail then inquires what if Island breaks that promise. At first he was there to protest the annulment of the engagement but he sensed something bizarre from Island. Island had already learned a training method suitable for her in order to become a knight even before they were engaged. He had made up the story, but it was a good lie. His father inquired how he noticed. Even a 8-circle mage like him didn't notice. He explains that a while ago, even though it was only for a short moment, he was able to confirm that she had trained her body with mana. And that mana is incredibly unstable. If his father didn't detect it, there's only one trick she could have used, an ancient magic tool. In the next scene we see Lindle practicing mana training as she cuts a dummy into pieces. Her father approaches her with a concerned expression. He inquires about Mikhail. She states that there's no way that idiot could notice. Her father thinks the same, but there's no telling what could happen. Even when she was there 2 days ago he hadn't shown any sign that he had noticed. She then inquires if her father believes that he could be a suitable partner for her. He exclaims of course not, but if the Marquis found out about it then it would become complicated. Even though they're a famous magic family, it would be impossible to sense the magic tool that they place on her. He believes his daughter is way too talented for her to be used in a political marriage. Also, she had received marriage proposal from Perslope County a few days prior. Leon Parslope is the only successor of the Parslope County. He's a sword genius that's known as the next sword saint. He's believed to be a much wiser decision compared to her idiot fiancé. At that moment, knights arrived and informed them that Mikhail, the man of the hour, has arrived. Morden is nervous and tries to discourage Mikhail from going any further. Mikhail tells him to stand with his head high and not be intimidated. Earlier he had told his father that the reason he acted so unnecessarily was to confirm his assumptions. He believes the reason they wanted to annul the engagement was because he had realized that she had learned mana training. After the engagement has been annulled, they can come up with all sort of reasons to why they annul it. Either way, what has happened at the moment has made their family lose face. But if he trusts his son's words and protest to the dukedom, then it'll be a whole different level of problem. With a deadly pressure, he inquired if he will be able to take responsibility. He tells him he's aware, so he would like to prove it with his own hands. His father decides to trust him. However, if what he's saying is a lie, he will be stripped of his successor's title and he'll have to give up the family name. With a disturbing expression, Mikhail tells him that he will still push forward. Morden tried to talk him out of going any further since he already has such a bad reputation. In a determined tone, Mikhail states that he needs to push forward. He tells Morden not to worry since everything has already been planned. A knight tells them that the head of Lindle have plans for today, so they can't answer Mikhail. Mikhail walks away seemingly understanding of everything, which makes the knight feel relieved. He sits underneath a tree and states that he's resting. Count Perslope would be arriving soon. If Mikhail stayed there any longer, it will be troubling. The knight tells him that he'll escort him on his way back. He grabs Mikhail by his arm and tells him to move. In a cold tone, he states that even if the engagement has been nullified, he was once the fiancé of the woman he served. Mikhail inquires if he's someone so distinguished that he can lay his dirty hands on him. The knight bows and he feels that he's intense pressure. He wonders when the boy who could barely breathe steadily in front of him became so badass. With a deadly intent, he states that he wants Island to come out immediately. The knight tells everything to Island's father. The guy said if he gives the order, he'll send him away even if he must use force. But Island's father knows that wouldn't be resolved with something like that. In a nonchalant tone, his daughter statars that she'll go out. Morden inquires why he's acting so bold. Mikhail tells the butler to just trust him and wait. The prominent Perslope family will join the like of the Duke in the near future. In particular, it is the family the man that will be known as the next sword saint belongs to. He's one of the people he had ties to before his regression. It'd be best to meet him as soon as possible. It's hard to believe that the families he has business with will come together in one place. The butler kneels down and inquires if he was training while the Marquis is unaware. It was just for a moment, but the strength the butler sensed was not of a third circle. Even though the butler is not a mage, he is Marquis's aide. So he's quite knowledgeable in these matters, so he's wondering if he had committed a taboo in order to forcefully raise his level. Mikhail extends his hand and tells him to check. The butler does as is told and realizes that he's at fourth circle. Morden has found no traces of taboo, which means he's achieved this level with nothing but his talent alone. Morden inquires how he achieved this level. Mikhail tells him that it was because he was kicked, which stuns the butler. With a scary aura, the butler states that if he was kicked 5 more times, if you would reach the 9th level. Anyways, the butler is worried since he seems to have came there because of his rage after reaching the 4th level. The Lindle family is a pillar of the empire, since the fall of Lindle family. It accelerated the chaos in the empire. As such, he has no plans to just watch it all happen. He has to change the foundation of things. Island inquires if she had not said everything that needed to be said. He states just because she's done, doesn't mean he's done. She explains that the engagement is already annulled and there is no room for him to exaggerate his will there. She tells him to not say anything useless and head back. He inquires why she's in such a rush. They should take their time to talk, or is there a guest on his way? She becomes tense and looks away. He smirks at this. Leon Perslope has no relation with his family's politics and only works to hone his sword. It's a given that there's no way he'd know about what happened. in the family he's visiting or what situation they're in. Nor would he care, he only cares about one thing: business ethics. Eileen, who he's going to be engaged with, who unilaterally demanding her engagement to be annulled. That guy with his sense of justice would never tolerate it. On top of that, there was no problems with the engagement. Her family is aware that nothing good will come out of their meeting, so that's why she's trying to avoid them meeting. He planned to take advantage of that anxiety. She exclaims that there was no problem with engagement. He whispers in her ear, and asks if that can be taken as a formal statement by the Lindle family. The knight then pushes him into the tree, stating that even if he is the heir of Walpurgis, his behavior will not be overlooked. He makes a crazed expression and inquires if that is all the Knight of Lindle amounts to. The knight was behaving rudely the entire time. It seems he doesn't know his place. She orders the knight to let him go. He suggests they switch locations since it's not a good place to have such conversations. She tries to protest but reluctantly shuts her mouth and states that she understands. She requests that he comes inside. He looks at the ceiling and the beautiful curtains. He comments that it's the same as ever. Morden comments that he doesn't come there often. Feeling frustrated, he angrily asks if he can just pretend to agree with him. The butler comments that he's talking like an old man. Morden inquires what he plans to do since he didn't come there with the Marquis. Mikhail states that he's there with his butler. Morden lowers his head and states that he's not much. Mikhail pats him on the shoulder and tells him not to say that about himself. He tells her that he wants to talk to her one-on-one. She ordered the knight to stay outside and he does the same for his butler. Inside, he tells her that she lied. He elaborates that they promise between families to not do mana training. She declares that she didn't break the promise and if he's suspicious, he can just check. She blames him, stating that because he told everyone that she was his fiancée, she was put in an uncomfortable position. He realizes that she thinks he's bluffing and making stuff up. Since he was very carefree before, he tells her that he doesn't need to check at the moment since he's not sure her family will play fair. He starts walking, stating that they should prove it in front of them. He approaches the window, then states the people who will judge fairly than anyone else will be the Perslope family. At that moment, their long-awaited visitor finally arrived. Leon marvels at the size of their estate. He thinks about the person ranked 5th in the world that reside there. It makes him smile, and a knight reminds him not to pick a fight with the Count's people. He nervously smiles and states that he won't. His father has made a lot of complaints about moving to the center, since being placed on the border isn't a good place for a noble family because direct succession only happens to families that helps the emperor. The border families who lose the emperor's favor disappear, reaching out when given the opportunity is necessary. He inquires about the reason for her annulment of marriage. The knight states that it was because her fiancé was a famous Walpurgis successor. With a suspicious tone, he questions if it's not because she has something suspicious about her. The knight assures him that her family is the representation of chivalry. Also, Walpurgis wouldn't have stood still. He comes to the conclusion that the successor was in such a bad shape that she had to break off the engagement. The knight tells him that good families don't always produce good heirs. But the guy's senses are telling him that it's not that simple.